Welcome guys, this is Ola from Stop Me O channel. This is another Life is Strange theory video. Yeah, I know, anytime I make these, you guys seem to be very excited, so that's why I actually like making these from time to time. And my best intention is to actually make more of these. It's just that I think I was recording too many games this year, especially big ones. I was recording The Witcher 3 and Last of Us Part 2 at the same time, two major games. So anytime I had some time, I had to record either one of them. That's why I think I've been recording less theory videos. But right now I actually decided not to record Cyberpunk, also because of technical issues I've been having. Right now I'm playing Cyberpunk on my own, which was a great decision because I have a couple of days off and I'm just playing Cyberpunk, and it's very much entertaining. I'm enjoying that game so much. I know that some people really complain about it, about the bugs and the technical issues and all of that, especially about consoles. But I think once you actually handle that, I think once you sit down with the game itself and start playing it, you see that they had a vision of the futuristic world, and it's very exciting, very immersive. I spent hours playing it, so I highly recommend that you try that too. But we're not here to talk about that. I also want to record some The Last of Us theory videos, but yeah, it's just that some people don't really respond well to criticism, and I have lots of that when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2, so I'm sort of gathering it all up, and I'm trying to focus on what I want to say, and then I will sit down and we'll discuss the game. But we're here to discuss Life is Strange. Life is Strange. I've been meaning to record that video for a while now. I realized I never actually recorded any video about side characters in Life is Strange. At first this was supposed to be a video about Max and wow, I even said that way, wow. At first it was supposed to be a video about my favorite Life is Strange franchise characters, but obviously what would be the point of doing that? I would mention some side characters that I like, and then I would end up listing Max, Chloe, Rachel, because I also consider her sort of main character, possibly Sean. Where's the fun in that? So I decided to focus on the characters that weren't the main characters. I won't be mentioning Max, Chloe, Rachel, nor Sean, and definitely not Daniel. He wouldn't make it on that list anyway. I wanted to make a top 10 list of my favorite side characters. I've been thinking about it for a while now. I even asked you about your favorite side characters. I'm going to read out some of your answers in a second. I don't think I can list 10 characters that I honestly actually like. Obviously there's many characters in the game that are fine and that I'm okay with them and I like them and I enjoy seeing them in the game, but I just don't feel that connection, I suppose. So I only listed these characters that actually make me feel something and that make me think twice about them. So it turns out there's 9 of them, so I'm just going to say that it's top 10 because that has a better vibe. Well, I will mention a 10th character too. So I'll just briefly discuss these characters, no in-depth analysis or anything. I noticed that they have something in common, and I'll get to that. Right, 6th of December I asked, what are your favorite Life is Strange secondary characters? Rachel, Steph, Kate, Brooke, Kate, Dana, Lyla, Steph, Cassidy, Lyla, Steph, Lyla, Mikey, Skip, Mrs. Grant, Karen, Joyce, Warren, Steph, Rachel, Mushroom and Bongo, Lyla, Brody, Charles Erickson, Steph, Cassidy, Warren, Drew, Victoria, Cassidy, Jacob, Chris, Rachel, Steph, Cassidy, Mushroom, Meryl, Big Joe, Joyce and Frank, Rachel, Amber, Kate, Marsh, Zach, Frank's dog, Joyce, Kate, Finn, Lyla, Warren and Kate, Frank, Cassidy, Finn, Steph, Mikey, Samantha, Steph. Hard not to notice that the same names reappear, and not many of these names are on my list. So I'm going to discuss mine characters. Order might be quite random. It's not really from my least favorite to my most favorite. Joyce, I honestly have a lot of respect for her because she's working in that diner. She hasn't given up even after William's death. She saw something more in David and decided to accept him into their family. She's doing her best for Chloe, and she's a great mother. I think a lot of bad stuff happened to her and she handled it really well. And she still has that house and she still has that daughter and she's still trying to be a happy person. I think she's quite a believable character, and anytime I think about Arcadia Bay being actually destroyed, so in my own ending, I think about Joyce. I don't think about many other people, but I do think about Joyce and think if anyone deserved to live, not that we are here to say who deserves to live or not, because that's wrong, but if anyone did that, certainly Joyce, because she had to handle a lot and then she died. So there she is, Joyce. While we're at it, another favorite character of mine that none of you mentioned is actually William. I think William's character is pretty important. It's not just that he was a great father, obviously, we could see that in Farewell. It's not only that he was a great father. I think his death influenced the game itself very much, because we had a glimpse at their life in the alternate reality when she was actually sick, and you could see how William was handling that. I think everything that William stood for, the values that he represented, that was on the opposite side of Chloe's life right now. It's not that she lost a father and then became a rebellious girl, ended up hanging out with Rachel, ended up hanging out with Frank and Nathan. Everything that happened in the game was somehow influenced by William's death. In a way, I think that maybe if William was a different type of a father, not the best one out there, maybe it wouldn't have influenced Chloe as much. Maybe she wouldn't end up getting involved with Frank, with Nathan. None of that would have happened. But he was a fantastic father, and his death very much influenced the main game's events. Now, I was thinking about Esteban too. Obviously, he was a great father, but you know, he could have been a drunk, and his death would have still led to Sean and Daniel running away. Well, that's what the developers wanted it to be. So even though he was a great father, it really doesn't matter as much what kind of a father he was, because Sean and Daniel would run away anyway, and Sean would have to assume the father position anyway, and everything that happened would have still happened. Whereas if William was a different type of a father, a worse type of a father, maybe it would have actually made a difference. Now, another favorite character of mine, side one, is actually Nathan. Now, I know that many of you won't agree. Obviously, if you don't think about it twice, then you see Nathan being a bully. He actually is responsible for Chloe's death, if you let him. He's probably responsible for Rachel's death. But at the same time, there's another layer in there. He was bullied himself by his father. He comes from a very wealthy family, but there was a lot of pressure on him, especially before the storm showed more of that. Some people don't consider it canon. I am fine with considering it canon, although they did make Nathan look more likable in Before the Storm. He was seeing Samantha. His father forced him to take part in the Tempest theater play, and you could actually see that he's a good person, but you can also see that in Life is Strange. You know, the moment when he calls Max and he apologizes for everything. And even that one little intimate moment when Victoria comes to Nathan by the end of one of the episodes, probably second or third one. So even though Nathan was not really likable, I actually liked him a lot. Everything that we saw was actually a play, and it wasn't the real Nathan. You could see the real Nathan in the alternate reality, the one in which William was alive. Now, he was a fine man in that reality. However, that influenced it. William being alive, it somehow worked on Nathan too. Now, David. I think David is one of my favorite side characters too. Again, this might be a controversial opinion. I don't think many of you like David as much. He was a bit creepy with all the surveillance that he was putting around the cameras, but then again, I think he was one of the first people that actually noticed that there's something going on Arcadia Bay. You know, when it comes to Rachel's disappearance. He had a military training, so I guess there's that. He was probably suffering from a PTSD, so there's that as well. I think he actually meant well, even though, well, the surveillance and him being harsh did make him seem a bit cold. At the same time, he truly loved Joyce. You could tell that he did care about Chloe too. And especially in Life is Strange 2, they showed us another version of David who let go of everything that was sort of holding him back in Life is Strange. Now he's living in that away camping park. He met Karen. He's just not the same person anymore. While we're at it, Another favorite side character of mine, Karen. Karen Reynolds, Sean and Daniel's mother. I know that this will be another controversial opinion. When it comes to Karen, I actually recorded a separate video. The whole thing with her. She left her kids, she left her family because she was always free-spirited and she had that need to escape. She just wasn't meant for that family life. I think in our society people still value family more than anything else, especially like motherhood, parenthood. I think leaving your family is very much frowned upon and people don't really react to it well. There's also a lot of pressure to become a parent, have kids and have family, and people who don't do that are told that they're missing on something. And Karen, I don't think she wanted to have kids. I think these years that she spent with Sean were possibly both happy and unhappy for her, and she decided to leave. Honestly, depending on your own experiences, you might find that despicable. But I'm always trying to understand it, and I think if she wasn't meant for that life, you only get one life, and she did leave her sons, which is obviously not okay, but at the same time, it was her decision to be made, and she made that decision, and she wasn't meant for that life. She probably shouldn't have signed up for that type of life to begin with. But I think that she's an interesting character, and it's interesting to discuss people that aren't black and white, and even though she did a terrible thing somehow, I'm not the one to judge. I wasn't in her shoes, so I don't know. She left, she felt like that's what was best for her. I think she's a cool character, and I liked her a lot in the final episode of Life is Strange 2. Another character that I liked a lot was Chris. Now, Chris was everything that Daniel was not. He was actually a cute kid, and I felt so sorry for him because he was pretending to be a superhero, so this was obviously some sort of denial mechanism because his mother died. The fact that he was trying to create this whole other universe and not live in his world, yet he was so very polite and very sweet. Adventures of Captain Spirit, that's a great prequel to a game. In a way, Chris is a main character, not actually a side character, but he is a side character in Life is Strange 2, one that I adored. Another Life is Strange 2 side character that I actually liked was Cassidy. She was a bit sarcastic. She was sort of everything that Sean was not. Sean was well, at first at least, Sean was a polite, quiet kid, and she was a bit loud, rebellious, living her own life. She had to leave her own house. I liked the fact that she was into music. I think she was an interesting character overall. I liked her with Sean because they weren't alike. They were different from one another. So Cassidy was one of the brightest sides of Life is Strange 2. I didn't actually like Finn as much, but I guess that's because he was hanging out with Daniel a lot. Jacob is another Life is Strange 2 side character that I actually enjoyed seeing in a group of friends, the same group where Cassidy and Finn were. They were sort of traveling together, looking for jobs. Jacob ran away because he was raised Catholic, like he was raised a believer, very much so. When he stopped believing in God, his parents thought that he was possessed by the devil, and then it turned out that he's actually gay, so he had to run away. They wanted to treat him in a conversion therapy, so he decided to run away. That's a character that was pretty interesting. I guess we could have spent even more time getting to know him, but I think seeing him in 2 episodes was a lot, given the fact that in most Life is Strange episodes we only get to spend 1 episode with one person. Another side character that I enjoyed was actually Lyla. Now, this is my biggest Life is Strange 2 regret. I wanted to get to know her. I wanted to see more of her. I was hoping that she would actually get together with Sean. I think she did in one of the endings when they grew up. But we only sadly got to see her beginning of the game, then we got to make some phone calls, then we got to see her at the very ending of the game. Now, up to this day, I think that the best thing they could have done was actually Sean and Lyla running away together for whatever reason, and not Daniel. I think it would be a bigger pleasure, at least to me, to play that game as Sean with Lyla, not necessarily with Daniel around. I just wasn't a big fan of Daniel. Lyla was a character that I naturally enjoyed the moment I saw her, and I wish we were able to see more of her. Another character that I actually liked a lot was Steph. She was just a cool girl to hang around with. someone that you know that you could rely on, someone that is quite honest. I asked people on my Discord server what they thought, and this is what they said. I also believe that. I wish we could see more of her. She was a pretty cool person, but like I wasn't even sure if I should put her on my top 10 list. Katie Benz, Steph's voice actress, is pretty cool. Definitely deserves a mention. Well, there are some side characters you might notice that I haven't mentioned. I think Kate is one of the fans' favorites. I obviously like Kate, but I just never really felt that strong of a bond, as strong of a connection. Warren's obviously nice, albeit a bit creepy. He was standing in that bush right next to the Max's room. I mean, hey, I'm not judging either. So what are your favorite side characters? You might agree with some of mine, you can definitely disagree with some of mine. I can guess which ones. I know which ones are more controversial, I suppose. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I do definitely want to record more theory videos like that. Please remember to follow me on Twitter, you can join my Discord server, you can check out Patreon and all of that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. This was Ola from Stop Me O channel. Bye.